And hello. This week in our masterclass, we're going to be talking about inspiring action from unmotivated agents. And this is something that is an ongoing challenge. So if your agents are motivated and inspired and working really hard right now, this comes in seasons. So that's not always going to be the case. They're not going to all be motivated at the same time, certainly. And especially as your team grows, making this something that you focus on regularly, just like the habit you want your agents to develop of prospecting and working independently on their business, you as leaders need to work really hard to foster this within them, because you can't force motivation or production from those who aren't there yet. But you can, however, make changes to the environment that they're in so that they feel really supported by you and they are nurtured so that their obvious choice is to be productive. Like, I would not choose to do anything else other than exactly what I'm supposed to do. So our goal is to have this team of intrinsically motivated agents that don't wait for you to tell them every little step of the way. And you're going to have to do that for some. But overall, that's what we're looking for. People who want to be there, who want to call clients, and want to sell houses. So today, I'm going to share some communication strategies that are going to help you foster this environment and provide you with a menu of activities that you can use to help inspire some motivation from your team. So first, and don't roll your eyes at me, Meg, but the first thing to do is to communicate the why. And look, everybody starts with this. Well, you have to know their why. They have to know their why. This goes beyond the agent's personal why. So that's the obvious. We've heard that a million times. The agent needs to know their why. Why on God's green earth do you want to do this? And you need to know their why. That's obvious. But in addition to getting to know them during their one-on-ones and tying their work to something bigger that motivates them, there's some other whys that work to motivate. So share your why. Having a leader that's setting the example of a great work ethic is one thing, but if you're doing it for a fantastic reason or a noble cause, that is really inspiring to people. And if you don't communicate your why, assumptions are going to be made and they're going to fill the gaps with their own personal life experience. Like, oh, well, Chris just wants us to do all this so she can make more money. No. If you're regularly telling the narrative as to why you started this business, why you work hard, those that don't have a strong personal why can feed off of your good intentions and use that as a motivator until they find their own. Because there's some people that you're sitting down and you're like, okay, well, what's your why? And they're like, I don't know. And they truly don't. They really have no idea. But if you have a very strong personal mission, I started this business because I had a terrible experience with my first home purchase. And I just want to have a badass team of agents who take such amazing care of their clients. It changes our community's perception of real estate agent. And our positive example is going to elevate the industry as a whole. If someone's standing at the podium saying things like that, like, real estate afforded me opportunities that I never would have had otherwise. It's made such a profound effect in my life that I want to share my knowledge with others so they can change their lives and create generational wealth for their families and the clients we help. Okay, I may not have my own soapbox to stand on, but I can stand on that one. I can say to my clients, this is why we do it. So it sort of becomes this, it becomes a shared why. And that's really helpful for those people who are like, Bridget, I don't know why. I just thought this was a good, I want to make money. I need to feed my family. You know, like they may not have this global why yet, but giving them an edge of your soapbox to stand on will help them want to row the boat in the same direction as you. And you can also communicate the why for your general industry. Remind them of the impact that you have in people's lives by helping them buy or sell or make sound investments. So having this bigger picture in mind, it makes you feel like you're part of something larger than yourself. And it is a great motivator. We want to be part of a community. It's why you join a sports team. It's why you join a church. It's why you join any organization. I mean, yes, you join a job or something like that to make money. That's probably your initial reason. But people as creatures want to be part of something bigger than themselves. So that helps them get there. Another way to motivate is to set your goals very clearly and have a way to accomplish them. So every single person on your team should know their goals so well that if you stop them in the hallway and say, Meg, what's your goal for the month? They should be able to spit it out without a second thought. Setting goals. Do you know your goal, Meg?
I know mine, but I know that if I stopped one of the agents right now, they'd probably have to go and look it up. But yes.
Yeah. And so I did this exercise with my team, and I was teaching. One of our managers was sick, so I was running the sales meeting, and I was like, so-and-so, what's your goal? And they looked like they were going to have an accident in their chair. And they're like, I went, okay, no worries. So-and-so, what's your goal? I asked 5 people in a row, and they all went blank on me. And I was like, what? We can't do this. Everybody needs to know exactly what their goal is. And so setting your goal is important, but even more so is keeping it at the forefront of their minds. Hang the goals up. Celebrate people making progress towards their goal. Ask them what their goal is and how far along they are. Keep it in front of them. Encourage them to put it on paper. Hang it up where you work at the office. Put it in your car. Put it on your mirror at home. Keep the focus on their individual goals. So if they know their goal, they are more likely to attain it if it's right, if it's achievable. It needs to be reasonable, but if it's in front of their mind. Also, we need to have a clear path lit, fluorescent bulb lit on how they're going to accomplish it. Because if you have a goal, but you don't know how to get there, it completely defeats the purpose of having your goal. So use that income goal calculator that we shared and any other tools that you have to break it down for them. They need to know what they need to do each month, each week, and each day to accomplish their goals. So there's no confusion about where to prioritize their time, because I don't like to make guarantees. But I will guarantee you, if they don't know what they should be doing on any certain day, they're going to make the wrong decision. They're going to put their time and efforts into something that's ultimately not going to move the needle forward for them. And as leaders, we need to spell that out and remind them of it so they know, when I wake up today, I have to prospect for 2 hours. I need to make 100 dials. I need to speak to 25 people, and I need to set 2 appointments. I know that just like when I wake up, I wash my face, I put in my contacts, and I brush my teeth. That needs to be their rhythm for the day. So they don't give them the opportunity to make those wrong decisions. So talk regularly about their personal goals, strategies to accomplish them, and then celebrate those wins or progress towards the wins as often as you can. Another way to communicate so that you're working towards this inspiration and motivation is to provide them with training and development opportunities. Growth is something that's really important to many, many people. And if your team doesn't feel like you're invested in and encouraging their growth, one day they're going to outgrow your team and move to another one, or they'll start their own team, or they'll get out of real estate. Either way, they're going to leave. So provide regular training sessions to enhance their skills and knowledge, and we can help you with this. So make sure all of your agents are registered on the link we circulate to you every Monday. And that's going to provide them with 6 opportunities a month to learn something and grow without you even having to do anything. you can, Corey's here, yay. You can also take them with you to industry seminars or conferences. So this builds their sense of camaraderie, and you gain a lot of different perspectives when you debrief from what you learned at the conference. So it's like reading a book. So if the four of us all read the same book, we would walk away with something completely different. So that's a great exercise. Everybody goes to the conference. We come back, we talk about our notes. What are we going to do? What are we not going to do? And I bet you will have some very interesting perspectives that come out of it. So if you're a team lead that you just go to these conferences, I encourage you, you don't have to bring the same group of people every time, but bring along some of your leadership, bring along some of your operations staff, 2 or 3 people, and you will get out of it more than just the ticket price, because they're going to be motivated by it. They're going to help share with people when they got back. So
that one's timely. We actually have our conference on Thursday, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Now I'm going to be following up.
Yes, follow up, have a meeting afterwards. Everybody give me your top 10 things that you learned. Give me your top 2 things you think we should implement. And everybody's going to come back with 2 different things that they really, really think were great ideas. So showing them that you're an active participant in their professional growth, that tells them that you believe in them and their potential. So that's going to help inspire and motivate, but it's also going to help with retention. Sorry, I was confused for a second because it said Corey was coming on and then he didn't come on.
He was here for a second and then
I'm wondering if the connection was bad because the audio, it just kept
connecting. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they do have internet challenges there sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Another way is to develop a reward system or offer incentives. So you would think that making thousands of dollars per closing would be enough of an incentive, but alas, offering additional incentives really do work, and they don't have to be crazy. Like I'm not saying to give out stickers or something, but well, you would be surprised. One of my friends is a loan officer, and his team, when they're all making prospecting calls, he has these $ stickers and they go nuts for it. So anyway, maybe you could do, after you get so many stickers, you get a larger prize or something. But you can offer incremental team incentives. So once we hit X amount of closings, anyone who contributed to the closing count can either get a massage or a manicure gift certificate. But you have to have contributed towards the goal. You can't have a 0 and get a massage. You have to have at least 1 closing on the board to contribute towards the goal. And then the next tier, this amount of closings as a group, we're going to take everyone on a happy hour boat cruise. You can also do this for those who hit their current personal goals in a certain period of time. And for larger incentives, you can limit them to top producers. So if you close over 25 deals in a year, you get to go on the top producer cruise. Or if you do 15 deals a year, we're going to have a cabin retreat for you and your spouse and something like that. So your incentives don't just have to be for closings. They can be for referrals received, the most appointments met in a certain amount of time, and so forth. But what you do want to tie your incentives to, whether they be stickers or cruises, are things that move the needle forward. And I want to caution you from leaning too heavily on the phone calls, because if you say, 500 phone calls in a day, that's something that's easily faked. And phone calls, while necessary, are not the things that truly move the needle forward. They're a necessary part to getting the needle to move, but you want to incentivize new appointments set, but even better, new appointments met, ratified, contracts, and closings. Those are the things, because if you put too much emphasis on your phone calls, all you're going to get are more phone calls. That's not, you want the appointments met and you want those contracts. So just be wary if you are doing something, and we're going to talk about building these in just a little bit, but if you are doing something with phone calls, follow it up with, okay, Now we're going to do appointments set. Now we're going to do appointments met. Now we're going to do ratified contracts. So build upon it, but don't just stop at phone calls, or you will be just drowning in phone calls. You can also create incentives and rewards with your compensation and your benefits. So being able to move into the next tier to bring home more money because of your hard work is a really great motivator. You can tie it to marketing. Sell this many houses and we're going to pay for you to get your car wrapped, or some other type of really expensive marketing. We'll help you get a billboard. We'll help you pay for an ad on Facebook. We'll do whatever to help you propel your business within the brokerage. What are some incentives that you guys offer, Meg? And what are they for?
Right now, none. Just because our team was big and then small again, and we were leading up to incentives and we just kind of never got there. So this is also something that's on my to-do list. Has been for about a year now. So yeah, this is all really good.
Yay, well, good. Well, one day the incentives will make sense again. And like I said, this isn't you need to do all of these things. It's you need to consider these things and do them when they make sense. So another way to foster this intrinsic motivation is to help create an environment of support and teamwork. So your work culture, if you're frustrated with your agents, your work culture might be the culprit for the lack of motivation. So working to make this positive and supportive environment where they feel comfortable sharing ideas and they receive really regular feedback and coaching from you is going to go a long way. If you're recognizing their strengths and providing guidance where improvement's needed, they're going to feel like you're invested in that personal development that we were talking about earlier, and not just looking for the next closing check to come in. If everybody's sharing their strategies, asking for help, and celebrating together, that's going to create that sense of belonging that also helps with motivation. So take a look, and it sounds like your culture is doing really great because you're not having a lot of struggles with motivation. But when the time comes, because everything's cyclical, when the time comes and motivation seems really low, that self-check of, all right, let's take a look at our culture. What can we do to foster this is going to be really important for you. Something else that can help, and this might sound counterintuitive, but start recruiting. Your culture is refreshed by the new people that come into your organization. So if your current people aren't interested in doing the work, there's a lot of people out there who are, and they're willing to do what the current people are not. So start bringing people in. It's going to help build a sense of healthy competition, and it's going to motivate some of those people who are like, oof, I really don't want to be outshined by the new guy here. So that's going to help them pick up as well. So if you increase your recruiting efforts, that's going to help you reset and refresh your culture, because you're going to be that much more intentional with your onboarding and bringing them on and setting those good habits. Maybe you realize, okay, I've got 10 people here, but I didn't set expectations well. How do I get them restarted? And a good way to do that is to bring someone new on, and you can sort of retrain everybody all at once.
That's where we are right now. I think we're going into week 2 with our newest recruit, and it's just like, we're all on that like team high right now. And everyone's like, really like come together as a team. So that one really strikes home.
Yeah, it works. It does work. Another way is for you to lead by example. So like we've been talking about, your culture, it's going to come from the top ultimately, but it's going to be refreshed by the new people you bring in. So if you aren't showing from a leadership standpoint that you're dedicated and enthusiastic about your work, it's not going to be reflected by those who are on your team. When agents see your commitment and your strong work ethic and your positive outlook and your passion, just like sharing your why with them regularly, they're going to feed off that energy and they're going to want to emulate you. A lot of people need and crave someone to look up to. That's why we have celebrities. That's why, that's part of what we need. We look for other people because as adults, we're not really modeling. I almost said moderating. We're not moderate. I did it again. We're not modeling our behavior after our parents anymore. We're finding people in the community that we want to be like. So if you can position yourself where you're showing these very healthy habits, and they're going to want to emulate you. So if you want your people to perform at a level 8, you need to be performing at a 10. You don't need to be doing the same activities that they're doing, but maybe instead of calling clients, you can call other agents to recruit them. Let them see you working, let them see you doing within the business, and they will be motivated by that. Celebrating your agent achievements. We've talked about this just a little bit already, but celebrating your agents both internally and to the public are really great motivators and great attractors for clients and other agents. Your clients want to see that your agents have experience, and the other agents will look at you celebrating your agents and think, well, my broker doesn't do that. What else are they offering over there that I'm not getting? So celebrate them during meetings, on social media, or even in your newsletters. But that's going to be a twofer for you. You want to give your agents structure, but also autonomy. So if you have autonomy in your work, it's going to empower you to make decisions. It's like little kids. The more you allow your children to make their own decisions, the more decisions they're going to make confidently. But if you make all the decisions for them, they're going to be handcuffed when it's time for them to make an actual decision. So if you're making your own decisions, you can take ownership of your responsibilities. So be wary of edging into the micromanaging standpoint and overdoing it on the things that they have to report to you. So if they're having to report a lot of information to you, take a look and see if some of this information can be gathered automatically. Is there a report that Follow Up Boss does? Is there another report that some of your software systems can give you without them having to regurgitate it for you and duplicate the efforts? You can support their work-life balance by offering flexibility, but you need to still hold them accountable to getting the job done. Because if they feel like you trust them and they are still in control, that's really going to increase their motivation. Build motivation and inspiration into all of your outreach. So this isn't something you focus on when things are getting tough. It's like going to couples therapy when things are going well, okay? You don't want to wait until things get sticky. You want to go and you want to get the tools you need so that when things do get sticky, you're better equipped to handle those things when the time comes, because we know it's going to. So all the things that we've been talking about today need to be woven into your outgoing communications to your team. So a good way to do this is to do a self-check before you send something out. So ask yourself, what does this mean to them? Because oftentimes the things we want to communicate, they could give a rat's booty about. So what does this mean to them? How will this affect them? Have I provided enough training on what I've asked them to do? And if so, have I included a link to it so they can refresh their memory? Don't go, well, I sent out that training 6 months ago. You should have remembered it when I sent out my newsletter. That's not going to work. Send it out, link them to it, take them 2 or 3 steps farther down the path than you personally would need. Another great question to ask yourself is, have I helped them to see the path to accomplish what I've asked? Do they know all the steps that it takes to get there? Because if the answer is no or maybe, it's time for a refresh. And this is just like the habit of prospecting that we want our agents to build. This is a habit that you should work on to strengthen. Because motivation, it's not constant. I'm stumbling over my words today. So we go through seasons. So check in on your one-on-ones, see where they're at. And if you understand their needs and concerns and dreams, you can tailor your outreach to meet them where they are and motivate them both individually in those one-on-one sessions and as a group. All right. So those are my thoughts on motivating, but now I have activities for you. What to do? All right, so do all the things we said earlier, but here are some additional activities you can do that I think really work because I've done them and it works. I just love this because I can be like, oh, I know this works because I've tried it. So instead of me being like, I Googled this and I think it sounds nice.
And now I can say, Chris did this, so I know it works because she did it.
It's nice because I've coached on some things in the past and I'm like, I mean, I feel like this would work well, but I haven't personally tried it. So these are all things that I've done firsthand, and I think that it would be good for you to try this or something like it. So first, interview some of your agents who are willing to share their approach. Ideally, you want to do this with 2 people on your team, one who's a top producer and one who's a newer agent who just got it real fast. And you were like, well, they responded really well to our training. Look at the explosion of business that they've had in their first year. So interview them separately, have them share what they're doing that works, their daily schedule, their work management strategies, and what they wish they had known sooner. Like if you could tell you a year ago or 10 years ago for a top producer or however long, what do you wish you had known sooner? So interview them, record it, and share it with your agents if you don't do it live, but record it so you can put it on your website as a recruiting tool. And you can also add it to your new agent training, because if you have in your training, just one person talking, blah, 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 it gets really boring. So mixing up those voices, but also showing this is a great person to model after as a new agent. And then down the road, here's what your life should be like as a top agent. So that's really great, really great. And it actually checks a lot of boxes. And those agents are going to feel, I mean, it's also retention for those agents because they're going to feel really loved and respected. All right. The next thing that I wanted to show you is a little similar to I forget what the document's called, but breaking down your income over the year. But we've made this into 30 days to 10K. So instead of reverse engineering your income for the year, let's say we want to make $10,000 in the next 30 days. Now, the caveat to this isn't going to close in the next 30 days. You're not going to bring home $10,000 in your next 30 days. This is how you're going to earn yourself $10,000 in the next 30 days. So I've edited this and I'll share it out. This is the income goal calculator. That's the name of the file that we have, but it's down to 30 days. So if I want to make 10 grand, I'm working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 4 weeks in the month. I'm going to spend 5% of my time working on my business and 95% of my time working in my business. This is what it looks like. And I think I made an error here, so I'll fix that before it comes out. But this is the general idea that we're getting across here. So we're going to earn an average, whatever your average is for your take home on your closing. Therefore, we need to close 3 transactions. So it breaks it down, 25% from listings, 75% from buyers. We're going to only change these green cells. So if we're going to do 1 listing and 2 buy sides, I know that 90% of my listings sell. Therefore, I need to take 1 listing and I sign up 68% of the sellers I meet with. Means I need to go on 2 listing appointments in the next month. And these you get to choose. I know my written to close ratio. You can edit these a little bit. But to get to my buy sides, I need 2 accepted offers. And that means I need 4 new buyers. I meet with 7 new buyers. And to get 7 new buyers, I need 9 appointments. And that means I need to speak with 131 people. And that means I need to make this amount of dials over the next 30 days. So this is taking that annual calculator, breaking it down into 30 days and saying, if I do these activities, I'm going to have $10,000 coming my way in this amount of time. And I will figure out what's wrong with this cell before I circulate it, or have someone good at math redo it for me. So that having this 30 days to 10K, that's a really great activity for you to do. And everyone sets their own goals. You can talk about it during your one-on-ones, and it gives you something really specific to hold them accountable to. Another activity you can do, and this is sort of fun and silly, but you can go to myfreebingocards.com, and I'll share this one with you today. I made this for you, but give a prize. They're at work. This person says it's not them, but you know it is. They're ready to buy, but they don't have any money saved. They're in the bathroom. They expect prices from 5 years ago. They're an agent. I used to get that all the time. Well, I'm an agent. Well, what are you calling me for? Actually, I called them, but what are you registering on my website for? They answered the phone, but they cannot talk. That's a good favorite. They're offended by your recent marketing. They want you to buy their house, job transfer, whatever. So you can go to myfreebingocards.com and make these, and they give you a free space. It's fully customizable. This is good. And you can do this if you have a virtual model or an in-person model. So you can email these out and give prizes, whoever gets to this first, just to kind of spice up your prospecting. Another activity you can use is a 50 contact challenge. So this is not 50 phone calls. This is 50 contacts. So this is great to use Follow Up Boss for, because it tracks those 2-minute conversations, which helps you if you have some sneaky Pete's on your team and they like to fudge the numbers. So you can do this in one call day with an AM and a PM session, or you can break it up over 2 days. So this shows them how many calls they can make in one day if they put the effort in. So if you have a brick and mortar, bring everybody in to call together. Or if you're in a virtual model, make it a Zoom link. Everybody gets on and mutes themselves so you can see everybody calling. And then they can hop into the chat to share their wins, something weird that someone just said. Keep the conversation so it feels like you're doing it as a group. If you're meeting in person, you can provide them with lunch. You can play games, make it a big event. Bring your cornhole boards in and your other yard games if you have space. If you're virtual, stop at a certain time and play trivia. If you're looking for games to play in the office, the minute to win it games are really good, and they're accessible to anyone. You don't have to have a certain physical strength or ability to play them. You could do them sitting in a chair if you wanted. But putting a 50 contact challenge on your calendar quarterly is a really great idea, because it boosts production. It becomes sort of a recurring event. You're going to make it better every time because you can get feedback. Okay, this was great. What do you think we should do differently? Let's break it up over 2 days. Let's have an AM and a PM session. This evolved for me over time because I did it. The first time we did it, we just did 8 hours, and everyone came and ground through for 8 hours to try and contact 50 people. And well, actually it was 100 to start, but we backed it down to 50 people. Oh yeah. We had lofty goals for everyone, but it gets them doing that habit. And if you have it on the calendar every quarter, you're going to get a big push of activity for your agents, and it'll help them. You know, if you're on the right path and you start to stray off of it, it gets them back on the path before they've had 6 months to go off of it. Let's get you prospecting again. Come in, we'll do it as a group. And kind of like what we talked about earlier, you can follow that up with a 50 appointment challenge. So this doesn't necessarily need to be everybody come in and make phone calls, but after you have your 50 contact challenge, maybe for the rest of that quarter, after that ends, that's great. Now we're going to begin the 50 appointment challenge, which will lead up to the next 50 contact challenge date. So take those 50 people you contacted, and over the course of the next couple months, we're going to convert them into appointments. So we're building on with it because we don't want to stop at contacted. We need to give them that direction of, great, now you get them to book an appointment with you. So you'll want a longer period of time for this, but I would have your 50 contact challenge, and then you fill the rest of the quarter with your 50 appointment challenge. You celebrate your winners, and then you start over with another 50 contact challenge. And that helps. It helps get everybody marching in the right direction, and just sort of something to kind of work on at all times. All right. The last exercise I have to share with you is, it's an interesting one, and I'll call it the ABC exercise. And I realized that through complaints of, you guys are asking us to report too much to you, and the sort of the over accountability that came into place, coupled with the pandemic, we took our foot off the gas for accountability. And we didn't put our foot back on the gas. We were just trying to keep people alive. We were trying to keep people in real estate. We just weren't doing any type of accountability. So as the world went back to the new normal, we had a lot of people who weren't doing anything. And that's not good for anyone. So we established the definition of an A, B, or a C agent. So an A agent, you're closing at least 15 plus deals a year, or whatever you need it to be, 25 deals a year, that's an A agent. 25 minimum, you're doing great. A B agent, we'll say they're closing 12 deals a year. You're consistently cranking out one a month. You should be able to do more, but for whatever reason, you're not. So you're okay. You're okay, but we would like to see you improve more if it's in the cards for you. A C agent, they are producing less than 10 transactions a year. Okay, so we defined those. Here's what makes up an A agent according to our model. Here's a B agent, and here's a C agent. And then we communicated the why. We explained what happened. We stopped holding people accountable because of this. Here's what we're doing moving forward. We're moving toward a culture of production and success. The community trusts us when we say that we are a team of experts, and we want to be confident that any agent they speak to within the organization is indeed an actively practicing real estate expert or working towards that status. When you came here, we promised you success. And by us not holding you accountable, that's not us delivering on that promise. So we need to hold you and the firm accountable to this culture of success. So you have to really define it, and you have to explain it. Another symptom of this was we had so many agents, and it wasn't 50%. It was like maybe 25% of our agents who weren't performing. And whenever they started to perform, they would bog down the system. So they would like, oh, I got lucky and I have a contract. Great. The manager would get bogged down. The other agents in their office would get bogged down. How do I do this? They weren't doing it enough to know how to find things, to know how to service the client well. And then it bled into operations. They're slowing down that system. They don't know how to put in their paperwork. They don't know the time frames required. So a slower, non-producing agent is going to bog your whole system down, and everything can't run as effectively if you have people going through the transaction well. So here's your ABC exercise. I know we have 1 minute left, so I'm going to try and wrap it up for you, Meg. You define your A, B, and C. You define the why. You send it to them in a video and in writing so they can refer back to us. Then you get them to self-identify. Okay, using these definitions, are you an A, B, or a C? Simultaneously, you get your managers or your supervisors, whoever, to say, Okay, same group of people. Do you define them as an A, a B, or a C? Using the same definitions. It's going to be really eye-opening to see those who think they are A's and they're actually D's. They're not even on the scale. And some were doing just fine and they thought that they were failing. So you get them to self-identify, and then you identify them, and then you get to meet and you discuss. You allow them to go first, and then you respond with, I'm actually in agreement with you, or you know what, you have a good conversation about it. And some of these conversations are going to be really tough because some are going to say, you know what, you're right, I'm not cut out for this. And they're going to leave on their own. And there are also a few that we just plain asked to leave. I had to call the sweet man who showed up every single day and worked for a year and a half, and he didn't sell a house. And I said, you haven't responded to any of our coaching. This isn't personal, but we don't seem to be a good fit for you. You should have sold a minimum of 10 houses by this point. You haven't converted a lead. You're actually killing the leads within our database because you're calling hundreds of them a day and you're not converting them, and they're unsubscribing or asking us not to call again. So you have these conversations. A few of your C's will need to go, yes, but everyone else, you create a performance improvement plan for your C's. And you give them ample time. Here's what you need to do over the next 30, 60, 90 days to move up into being a B, because we only want you here if you're an A or a B. The minimum needs to be 12 contracts a month. 12 contracts a year, 1 a month, 12 a year. That's the bar. This is where we need to be. So we make this performance improvement plan. We check in with them. We're setting them up for success. We're not just going to wait 90 days and go, oh, well, you didn't do it. Goodbye. We're going to set them up for success. And if they failed to complete the performance improvement plan or show great efforts for improvement, we weren't cruel about it. If they tried really hard and missed, that's fine. We'll start another one. We'll move the bar a little bit. But if they didn't try, or they massively failed and we're like, okay, I've been coaching this person for a year, they need to go, we're going to ask them to move their license. Some of the Bs also wanted a performance improvement plan to see what they could do to become an A. So what we learned from this, the agents, except for out of 200, close to 250 agents, everybody loved it except for about 5 people. The top producers loved it because they were getting bogged down by the non-producers. Our operations staff and our managers also loved it. And when someone who didn't do much finally got something, it gunked everything up. It was like putting bubble gum in the system. So the people that did need to leave seemed to have a great sense of relief because they felt like they had made a promise to themselves or to us or to their family. And when we really leveled with them and we're like, this doesn't really seem to be your thing, and that's okay. What else can we get for you to do? Or, we'll make you a reference or something. You're a great person. It really allowed them. So that helps you cut the bottom whatever of your organization. You can recruit to fill those people, and everyone else is like, I have more to work with because I don't have this the chaff, if you will, killing the leads for me. All right. We've gone 4 minutes over, so I'm going to shut up now. But those are some activities that would be useful for you to work into motivating your people to show some more action.
I put 2 of those activities on my to-do list for today. So good stuff.
Yay. Yeah. All right. Well,